many places we travel, we meet different people, members of the Jewish community mainly, and the story always is that you come to a place, people are busy, they don't have really a long time to share with you or spend with you, and they say, please tell us very briefly what is the situation in Israel, how things are going on, and you say, in one word, good, in two words, not good. And unfortunately, this is not just to summarize the situation, I think it's a reflection of what's going on in the Middle East. It's a very unpeaceful, unstable environment. The neighborhood there is not the place that you might choose as neighbors to be with. Nothing is secure, nothing is assured there. You have to fight, you have to struggle for everything. And we in Israel, we know that on a daily basis. You know, when our first son was born back 22 years ago, almost 23 years ago, we thought that when he will become an adult, 18 years old, he will not need to serve in the army. Reality shows that not only that he serves, all the youngsters serves, men and women, and unfortunately I believe this is going to be the situation, at least in the short or near future, that we can envision. The Middle East has gone through a very dramatic change in the last year and a half. In some places they called it the Arab Spring, we called it the Arab Winter, because whatever we see around is really changing, but it does not change into the direction that we would like to see. When you replace a dictatorship with an extremist regime that is still a dictatorship, the change does not reflect the positive wishes that we have for a different Middle East. When one dictator is put aside, but a group of people that are still controlling the country in a non-democratic way and still wishes to destroy Israel, to take over other places in the world, to export the Islamic revolution, are instead of one dictator, what is the change? What did we do? Did we make anything for the better? Did we move on a positive way? I'm afraid that the answer is no. And when you look to the Middle East today, you can clearly say or understand that the changes are in the wrong direction. But they are there. Maybe I will try to touch the Middle East by speaking about two circles. Where Israel is in the center, you have the countries that are neighboring Israel, that we have a border with. Changes in those countries means that the border is not going to be the same like it used to be. And there is what we call the external circle. Countries like Turkey and Iran, Sudan, Yemen, Libya, all those countries, they don't have a border with Israel, but they are very influential in the region. If I touch this circle of the countries that are not neighboring Israel, the two major countries that we see today very active in the region of the Middle East, in the region of the Mediterranean, but not only in that region, are Iran and Turkey. Iran, needless to say, you understand, I think, from what you see and what you read, and if you don't, I will try to clarify that. Iran is trying to gain the leadership of the Islamic world. Developing the nuclear weapons are not only aimed against Israel. The concept is that the Islamic revolution needs to be exported. It needs to reach other places, other continents, other countries. They are working very strongly in Africa, in the area of the Sub-Sahara, which is not a Muslim area by definition. There are countries there like Nigeria that has significant number of Christian believers and Muslims. And suddenly you see the conflicts inside, problems that emerge from the external revolution powers that are coming there to encourage them to go against the Muslim part. The Iranians are there. The Iranians are looking into Europe and say, what can we do in order to make Europe an Islamic continent? And there are places where there is a high percentage of Muslim people there, more radicals that are listening to what the Iranians has to say. But speaking only is not enough. When you have nuclear weapons, when you have missiles that can cover the entire land or continent of Europe, reaching up to London and everything in between, and maybe Moscow, and maybe something in the Far East like China, then you might be very powerful to influence. Then you might dictate changes in countries and export and strengthen the revolution. And what I tell you now is not something that I invented. It is there. They say it again and again and again. We would like to export the Islamic revolution. But when they aim into one country, when they try to focus into one place, they would like to destroy, to attack, that they say has no right to exist as a country, they mean which country? Israel. And we understand that the situation in Iran is more difficult and more problematic than the situation in other Arab countries around us. You have to remember, since 1979, when the Persian Shah, because of lack of support from the American side, was thrown away by the Islamic Revolution, there is an ongoing regime there that is getting more and more strength, that is building itself. Today, if all the leadership of the Iranian government will disappear by, I don't know, by an airplane accident, there are enough there to take control, to continue the same line. It's not like, say, Iraq, where there was one dictator, Saddam Hussein, he dies, killed, executed, run away, doesn't matter. The next one, or the situation in the country might change. Same like in Libya. Gaddafi was the leader of Libya for 40 years. They caught him hiding under some, I think it was under the road, shoot him, change. Now maybe there will be a split, something else, but the whole character of the country can change. In Iran, the basics are so strong that you can forecast that in the near future, changes are not going to happen there. So we believe that Iran will continue its struggle against Israel, will continue to try to build the nuclear weapon in order to attack Israel and to threaten the world. And we need to be ready. The other country in that cycle that is very influential is Turkey. Turkey went through a very quiet democratical revolution in which the extremists won. After they won, they went into power, they came into power, they succeeded to push aside the influence of the army, the generals of the army that were all supporters of the West, and now they are in power. People are not aware, but Turkey today builds the largest fleet, navy power, in the Mediterranean, not only in the Middle East, in the Mediterranean. They're going to have the best submarines, the best frigates. That's a power. Turkey would like to regain the power, the strength, the position it has more than 100 years ago, when the Turkish Empire was ruling the Middle East. Iran tries to gain a similar thing, going back to maybe 1,000, 2,000 years ago, when the Persians were a very significant power in the region. If you ask me, a day will come, and these two major powers somehow will clash. They cannot live together like that. The tension exists all the time. Both of them are not Arabs, but they would like to lead the Muslim world. Now I ask you, how can you show other countries that you are the leader of the Muslim world? By going against Israel. How can you show others that you are better than the others, more strong, more powerful, more national in your concept of pan-Islamic? Go against Israel. And you see again and again that this is the line of Turkey, though the diplomatic relationship with Turkey remains the same. You can see again and again that this is the line of Iran. And we understand that these two countries that are not bordering Israel are extremely influential as to the existence of Israel. Lebanon, in the south part of Lebanon, there is a group called Hezbollah. Maybe you heard about them. Hezbollah means the party of God. They are aiming, at the moment, as we speak today, now, more than 100,000 missiles towards Israel. Where do they get the missiles from? Who are their friends? The missiles comes from Syria. But who sends the missiles to Syria? Who sponsors the activity of the Hezbollah in Lebanon? The answer is Iran. The Iranians are the one behind. They are the ones who created some kind of a military base in the north part, close to the border of Israel, with this group of Hezbollah. Why? First of all, because they don't have a border with Israel. So in this way, they can create problems. The war in Lebanon, that was 6 years ago, started because of the actions of the Hezbollah. They kidnapped 3 soldiers. There was a war there. The Iranians were not a part of the war, but they were backing the Hezbollah. And the message for Israel is very clear. If you try to attack us and destroy the nuclear facilities that we have in Iran, those more than 100,000 missiles will be shot against Israel, will be launched against Israel from Lebanon. The Iranians will not be there to press the button. Others will be there to do it for them. And Turkey is trying to do the very same thing, to get influence in the region. And one of the most sensitive countries around us these days is Syria. The dictatorship of the Assad family in Syria probably will be finished. It's a matter of time. But we ask ourselves, who's going to come instead? Remember what's written in the Bible, that the trouble will come from the north. Syria is on our northern border. Beyond Syria, north to Syria, is Turkey. And we understand that there is a major or great chance that more radical regime will come into Syria. Today, Syria is backed by the Iranians. It's clear that when Assad is out, the next regime will not support Iran like they used to. But we understand that there is a good way that Turkey will be involved there. Why? Because Turkey is playing in the Middle East a different game than all the other countries. You know, in the past, our enemies were very simple. They stood up like the Iranian and said, Israel has no right to exist, so we would like to destroy it. They never succeeded. God would never allow them to do so. In every war, we succeeded to win again and again and again. We were few, but we succeeded to win and take more territories, release more of the land, again and again. But today, the game that Turkey is playing is different. Turkey comes to the United States and says, we are friends. Turkey is a member of NATO. NATO is the allies treaty of the European countries, the North American countries, and Turkey is a part of it. And they say to the Americans, let us be your policemen in the Middle East. We will solve the problems where you cannot do so. For example, Iraq. Iraq is a problematic country. America is pulling out their soldiers from Iraq. What's going to happen in Iraq? Is it going to become radical again? Nobody would like that to happen in the West. So the Turkish government comes to America and says, let me be the policeman. Let me be the one that will step into Iraq and do the job to keep the radicals out, to keep the Iraq going the way you would like it. But at the very same time, I will be an ally of the United States, but I will not be an ally of Israel. This is a split that never existed before in the Middle East to such an extent, that a country that is in friendship with America goes directly against Israel, actively against Israel. That shows you where Turkey would like to be. And the other 2 neighbors that we have are Egypt and Jordan. 2 countries that we have peace agreement with, 2 countries that we're supposedly living in peace with. But see what happens in Egypt. It's very clear that the new regime in Egypt, no matter who the president is going to be, will not be friendly to Israel. It is very clear that the radicals there are gaining more and more power. And the day will come, maybe not tomorrow morning, that those radicals will be influential and strong enough to break the peace agreement with Israel. Today, this year, we are building a fence along the border with Egypt. Next year, we plan to build a fence along the border with Jordan, from Eilat, and I know you've been to Eilat, at least some of you, to the Dead Sea. Why 2 friendly neighboring countries living in peace with a peace accord, peace agreement, needs to build a fence in between? The answer is very clear. We have papers, but we have reality. And reality is different than the papers. Peace is on the paper. in practice, there is no peace. There is some kind of instability. Last year, the Israeli government decided to redistribute the gas masks to every citizen in Israel. You know, a few years ago, the government collected all the gas masks from the citizens. Now they hand it back to the citizens. Why do you give gas masks to your citizens if not to defend themselves in case of war? This is not a very good sign. On the other hand, there is a new program in Israel of allowing every citizen to expand their house, their homes. You know that you are allowed to build certain amount of, we go by square meters, every apartment, on every block you can do such and such. Government comes and says, you know what, here's a gift from the government, you can build 25 square meters more. Now everybody is happy, I can do more, you know, my apartment will be bigger. But there's one condition here. You need to build a shelter, a chemical shelter, on half of those 25 meters. So in this way, every house that is going to be expanded by its size will have a shelter in case of attack. This is not a good sign. I mean, some people are happy their houses will be bigger, but you need to understand what stands behind it. We understand that the Middle East is going to be tougher and more problematic for Israel. But we know that nothing will take us out from there. We know that nobody will be able to win this war against us, because we are there by the promise of God. We are there because this is our homeland. And we are there, and nobody can take us away from our home. Sometimes when I describe all this, you might get the vision that Israel is a place where only bombs and explosions and negative things are happening, like you might see in CNN and other places like that, on other channels like that. I would like maybe to tell you a little bit about the other side of Israel, because beautiful things are happening in Israel. I believe it's an amazing country. First of all, let's go by figures. We are members of the organization called OECD, which is the organization of the 20th richest countries in the world, best economies. We are there, Israel. Think, a small country, 7 million people, size of Massachusetts, more or less, surrounded by enemies that want to destroy it, needs to invest so much into the security and the defense all the time, but still we're part of the strongest economies of the world. Isn't this a miracle? The innovation in Israel is incredible. I can go through a list of things that I'm sure you never thought or knew that were invented in Israel. Maybe I'll touch only some of them. You all use Skype, right? Or you use the internet communications. The idea of voice over IP, internet protocols, was done or created in Israel. Actually, the Ministry of Science, where I was a minister, but it was before my time, I don't take the glory from others, was investing in that first. Laptops, okay? Everybody that has a laptop, the processors inside of the laptop were invented in Israel. The idea that you can use only elements, some elements in your computer and not to use the whole computer all the time, enable us to take the big box called the computer and make it a laptop that you can carry. That was the beginning of the revolution. It was created in my city, in our city, in Haifa. By the way, I'll tell you a short story. You know, Israelis, some of them moved out of Israel. They went to live in other places. Many of them were working in the Silicon Valley, other side of the ocean, going to the east, right? And many of them had a prominent career. Everything was good. Everybody was happy. Suddenly, the companies like IBM, Intel, the others, that goes back to the 70s. They discovered that those Israelis resign. They leave. They go back to their homeland. And they start to investigate why these people leave. You know, I have a career, salaries, everything is fine. Everybody is settled. I can, you know, can make a progress and get better even positions in the company. Why should I leave? So they ask, and the Israelis, they answer them very clearly. Our children reached an point in time where they need to go to school and to be educated. And we would like them to be educated in Israel, so we leave. And first of all, the point, and this is a very important point, and I know that Pastor Steve does that here, and all of you are involved. Education, 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 education. That's above all. That's the most important thing of them all. And the Israelis, they said, my career, I put it aside. The most important thing is that my son, our kids, will get the best education that we can get them according to our belief. So what did the major companies, IBM, Intel, and others? You know how they say, if Muhammad cannot come to the mountain will come to Muhammad. That's what they say in the Middle East. They said, let's take our R&D centers and move them to Israel. Israel was the first place in the world where R&D centers of the major computer companies of America were open. Not fabs where you work and you do the chips. Place where you operate your brains. Because you have to remember, our country, Israel, is very small. We are very, very poor, until recently at least, with natural resources. When God gave us this land, He said it is the land of milk and honey. But nowadays, milk and honey are commodities. On the other hand, He gave us the brain, the belief, the way to think differently, to dare, to do things in a way others don't. And this is the brain power. And when those companies came to Israel, they saw the innovation, they saw the ideas, and they understood that this is a place where R&D centers should be. Today, when you come to Israel, you have them all, Google and Apple and any name, you name it, we have them. I have to tell you, not all innovation succeeds. Not everything is 100% successful. When we traveled together today, we saw lots of chicken going around. In Israel, I was the Minister of Science, and I remember they showed me a new kind of breed of chickens that they developed, the scientists, that has no feathers around the neck. And you ask yourself why a chicken needs to live without feathers around the neck. It's not for the shochet, the one who, who kills her, to kill it easier. I asked them the question, and you know how chicken cool themselves? They don't sweat. So they need to breathe fast. If it's hot, they need to breathe fast, like this. If it's hotter, they have to breathe faster. Until it's so hot they cannot breathe so fast, they die. Without the feathers around the neck, the chicken can live 5 centigrades more. And this is the difference between life and death. Not only for the chicken, but also for the farmers who need to grow the chicken in the desert, because Israel is a desert. And if your chicken dies every year again and again, your business is very bad. So that was an innovation. They showed me that. I have to tell you that the farmers, they didn't like it. They never bought those chickens, and I don't know what happened at the end, but you don't see them anywhere around. But there were other innovations. We dare, we try, we are different. I was the head of the Israeli Space Agency. I was in charge for that. You know, there are only 8 countries in the world that has the ability to build and to launch satellites. It's not a small thing to do. Israel is among those 8 countries, but even that we do differently. Everybody launches their satellites from west to east. Why? They can orbit in space quicker, and you save fuel to send them there. We send our satellites from east to west. Any idea why we do so? The reason is that if something goes wrong and the satellite falls down and we send it from west to east, it might fall in Saudi Arabia, Syria, Iraq, and we don't like them to peek inside and see what we have in those satellites. But if it goes to the west, falls to the Mediterranean, the fish, they don't speak, and everything is clear. That's how it is, but we dare, we are different. I remember I had a meeting with the head of the Indian Space Agency. He came from India, and we did some cooperation together, and he told me, we have 15,000 employees in our space agency. How many do you have? And I went like, 2. And actually, I was not really telling the truth, because we had 1 person and a secretary that was part-time. So it's more like 1.5. But with 1.5 people on staff, because of our policy of bringing together, collaborating with the companies who does the job, integration, we succeeded to do more than most of the countries of the world. 8 countries only can do what we did, succeeded to do in Israel. Isn't it amazing in such a small country? And I can go and tell you more about the drip irrigation and all the other ideas and innovations that we have in Israel. I think that when the Jewish people live on their homeland, in their homeland, it is a blessing to the world. It happened in the past with the Bible. It happens now with the blessings that we are able to bring. And we know that this is where we belong. And we know that this is where we should be. But unfortunately, in Israel, priorities are also very clear. Security comes first. When it's an issue of defending the borders, when it's an issue of defending your family, you need to spend, and you spend as much as you can in order to do so. All the rest, all the innovations, all the ideas comes after. When I was the Minister of Science and Technology during the Ariel Sharon's government, I don't know if you know, but one of the unpleasant roles of a minister is to attend funerals of people who were killed in terror actions. And one of the terror actions that took place in Haifa, in our city, when I was the Minister of Science, 17 people were killed, including a friend of my son, a girl from his class. The terrorist was exploding himself on the bus. The guy called his father and he said they were on their way back from school. And he said, "Daddy, I had a great day in school. I loved you, Daddy." And then the line was cut. He was standing next to the terrorist, exploded, only being identified by his shoes. Nothing is there. And there were a friend of mine and his daughter that were killed there, another 17 altogether. And I went, you go to the funerals. You attend the funerals on behalf of the government. And you go and you need to speak. And you go to one funeral and I finish, and before the family even goes away, I have to say goodbye and to go and meet the family of the second funeral. And you come with them and you see the grave with the flowers and the hole that is open waiting for the third one. And you do one after another, 3 hours of funerals. And then you go to visit all the families in what we do, the Shiva, the week where people sit at home and mourn on their dear ones. And you try to find words to say to those people who lost their children in such a brutal terror attack. And it's very hard. You don't know what to say. You don't really know what to say. And every place I went there, the people asked me, what about building the fence that will separate the Palestinian Authority from Israel, that will prevent the crossing of the terrorists easily into Israel? And until that time, the fence was not there. And I came to the Prime Minister Ariel Sharon on Sunday morning. We have our cabinet meetings on Sunday. And I told him, Mr. Prime Minister, I went to those families and I spoke with them and I tried to show them comfort, but instead of that, they were all asking the same question. What about the creation of that fence to defend and protect and save the lives of future, God forbid, victims of terrorism? And he said, we're going to build this fence very soon. In 2 weeks' time, we decided. In the first year, we saved lives of people by preventing close to 70 different terrorist attacks. People who tried to cross and could not make it because of that fence. But whenever I came and asked for money, budget, for research or for science, the answer of Prime Minister Sharon was the same. We're building the fence. There is not enough in the budget. And I could not argue, because it's very clear. When you need to defend your children, your grandchildren, your parents, your grandparents, security comes first. Everything else is second. But security is not the only mission that we have. Israel is our land. But it's not only the land of the Jewish people who live in Israel. Israel is the homeland of all the Jewish people. No matter where you are, no matter where you live, no matter if you want to come to Israel or you don't want to come to Israel, it's not your decision. Israel belongs to all of us. We are there to keep it, we are there to build it, we are there to develop it, but we also have a very important role. And that is to take the Jewish people and to assist whoever wants to come to Israel to come, to be there. And when you need to invest in other issues like security, the pie or the budget is limited. And this is where Keren HaYesod, UIA, the organization that I'm the world chairman of, is getting into the picture. We fundraise all around the world, but the United States, in 48 different countries. We fundraise from our brothers and sisters the funds that are needed in order to assist Jewish people to come to their homeland. It goes back to the times before the state was created. During the British times, when the British controlled Israel, the Brits controlled Israel, they did not allow Jewish people to come. My grandparents from my mother's side, they came on illegal immigration boat in 1934, the first boat. After Second World War, the people that were saved in Europe were not allowed to come, to return to their homeland. All they wanted is to go away from that place of terrible massacre and destruction, return to their homeland. After 2,000 years, and the Brits, they did not allow it. So we sponsored the boats and the airplanes that took them there illegally. And after that, every major operation of bringing the Jewish people to Israel was sponsored by Keren HaYesod, together with the government, together with others. Because we believe that the Jewish people all around the world is one. And solidarity means that everybody needs to support each other. Because it's written in the Bible, we will all return to our homeland. And think about my great-grandparents, and think about my grandparents who prayed, who desired to come there. For 2,000 years, people wanted to come there. And we are living in the best times. They are coming. And they are coming from the north, from Russia, from former Soviet Union countries, and from the west, from America and Canada, and from the south, South Africa, and Latin America, and even from the east and from Ethiopia, the black Jews. They're all coming to Israel. And we are there to help and support and to assist the government. I want to teach you a little bit of Hebrew. Actually, one word or two words. The most important word is Aliyah. Aliyah. Say it. Aliyah. What did you say? Aliyah means immigration to Israel. But in Hebrew, Aliyah is not immigration. Aliyah is like climbing up the mountain. Because when you go to Israel, when you immigrate to Israel, you don't just move from one country to another, no matter which country it is. When you make Aliyah, you're going up the hill. You're going up the mountain. You're going to the place where you belong to. You're going to the place that God had promised you. You are going to the Holy Land, the homeland of the Jewish people. This is Aliyah. And the other word is klita, which is absorption. If people come to Israel, Jewish people, we don't like them to be poor. We don't like them to be like immigrants that are not integrated into the society. We need to do whatever we can in order to assist them become equal members of Israel, equal citizens of Israel, equal members of our society. They are Jews. They are our brothers and sisters. We're not going just to let them lie there in the street in Israel. When they come, they need to receive whatever we can give them in order that all of us together will be stronger and we can face the challenges that are ahead. Because our enemies, they don't wait for those people, I don't know, a generation or two or three to integrate. If we will not integrate them immediately, they will not be there to fight the battle that we have to fight in order to defend ourselves, shoulder to a shoulder. And these two things, Aliyah and Klita, immigration to Israel, but not immigration, going up the mountain to Israel and being absorbed in Israel, are the things that we fundraise for, are the things that we do. Because this is what is solidarity of Jewish people all about. Because this is what the solidarity between all our brothers and sisters around the world is all about. Because we know that even though we are living in the best times, that we see the promises of God from more than 2,000 years ago coming through to reality in our generation. Think that we are the generation that was blessed to see all of this happening. But we know that in the Middle East, as I told you, nothing should be taken for granted. Maybe I'll conclude with one small story about my family. My father is a Holocaust survivor. Actually, my name, Eliezer, I'm called after my grandfather that was killed in the Holocaust. My father was 6 years old when he saw how the German soldier kills his father. My nickname Moody comes from the word Hamoudi. It means cute in Hebrew because I was young and they decided I was cute. It has nothing to do with my real name. My real name is Eliezer. My father is a Holocaust survivor. And when I become a minister in the Israeli government, there is a ceremony in the parliament. You know, you have to swear in and to sign a declaration. And of course, you want to, you invite all your family. You're very proud, and your parents are very proud that you, their child has made it, not only to be a lawyer, which is the dream of a Jewish mother, but also to be a minister. And they are sitting there in the gallery and the whole ceremony. And in that day, in the evening, my father, he told me something he never told me before. He told me how during the time of the Holocaust, where they were hiding in a barn, you know, in some place in Ukraine, somebody told the German soldiers that there are Jews hiding there. So the Germans came. And in that place, my grandmother was there. My grandfather was already killed by the Germans. My grandmother was there with the 3 children, my father and his brother and his sister. And when she saw the German soldiers coming towards this barn where they were hiding, she said, "Children, this is the end. They are going to discover us, and when they will do so, I will stand up first. So the Germans will kill me, and I will not need to see how they kill my children." The German soldier, he climbed to the 2nd floor there, where they were hiding under the straw there. And, you know, Second World War, they had knives at the end of the rifles. So he stabbed the straw, and the knife went on the 2 sides of the head of my father. He stabbed here, stabbed there, and then he said, "There's nobody here," and they left. And my father told me that story, and he said, "You know, when I was a teenager, a child, nobody knew when the war is going to end. I could not imagine myself as a grown-up person. The war was there. I was running all the time, hiding, looking for shelter. I could not imagine myself as a grown-up. I could not imagine myself getting married, having children." He said, if somebody would have told me in those times that not only I'm going to get married and have kids, that one of my children is going to be a minister in the government, and not only a minister in the government, a minister in the government of the Jewish people, in the Jewish state, he said that's something that you could not even dare to think to imagine. And that was less than 70 years ago. And I truly believe that as long as the gates of Jerusalem are open, the gates of Auschwitz will stay closed. And this is our role, to keep the gates of Jerusalem open, to bring all the Jewish people to Israel. Let all the Jews live together in their homeland. Thank you very much.
Let's hear it.
Thank you very much.
Moody, I just want to say on behalf of the church here on Kauai, the Kauai people, we thank you so much. We love Israel, and we appreciate you so greatly, don't we? Don't we, folks?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing with us, and we look forward to seeing you in Israel.
Amen. Hope to see you all in Israel. Come to visit us. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Bless you.